This is a legendary magic artifact that can be upgraded by devouring equipment. The upgraded Abyss Dweller is equivalent to saying it possesses the powerful destructive power of a two-handed weapon. It also possesses the agility and swiftness of a one-handed weapon. This is the terror of the magic artifact. After Fengshe completed the quest of the Heart of Titan, he returned to Maple Leaf Town. Once he returned to his original self, he couldn't help but ponder quietly. Previously, he had received an invitation from Snowby. She gave me 2 extra slots and asked me to bring along the strongest teammates to participate in the Battle of the Dark Moon Graveyard first done against the body-devouring serpent. At this moment, Kuriko saw Fengshe approaching and quickly shouted with Coke, "Boom! We are here!" Fengshe couldn't help but think to himself, I chose to bring Sorcerer Kuriko and Protect Warrior Coke into the team. One is a magic class DPS and the other is a powerful tank, which just happens to make up for my weaknesses. Fengshe then took out all the equipment that the two of them could use. These equipment items were all obtained from looting boxes in the Moonlight Forest. Each attribute is excellent. Kuriko and Coke were immediately thrilled. Feng, you are so generous. I can't wait to try them on now. Fengshe nodded in satisfaction. After all, this is Zero Wing's debut. Substandard equipment won't do. I have already sent the equipment to the others via email. Change into your new equipment and follow me on a trip. Dark Moon Graveyard in Shadow Moon Valley has countless gravestones standing near a rundown church. At night, there are always painful wails coming from the gravestones. This is the most famous place in Shadow Moon Valley because it is near Maple Leaf Town. It is the first 20-player dungeon to be opened. At this moment, Dark Moon Graveyard is crowded with people. For the guides of Maple Leaf Town, the importance of the 20-player dungeon is self-evident. The Willing League, ranked 5th in overall strength, has already arrived. In addition, Heaven Throne, ranked 4th in overall strength, has also arrived at the entrance of the dungeon with their elite guides. Compared to the previous 6-player dungeons, this is the dungeon that all guides are most concerned about because team dungeons are different from small group dungeons. Not only is the difficulty higher, but the dropped equipment and items are also better. Even the 3rd-ranked Assassin Alliance is full of confidence in attempting to clear the dungeon. This is because clearing a team dungeon is the only way to prove a guide's strength. In addition, next to each team dungeon portal, there is a huge honor board. The names of the first team and player to complete it will be recorded on it for others to admire. The 2nd-ranked Shadow, with its comprehensive strength, will also not be absent. In addition to the first done, honor, there is also a record for the shortest completion time reserved, set at 3 hours. Any team that completes the dungeon in less time than the record can leave their mark. However, this record is not permanent but temporary. It can be replaced anytime a team completes the dungeon in an even shorter time. The body-devouring serpent currently ranks 1st in overall strength. At this moment, Luna Zhao impatiently scanned the crowd but found that one person was still missing. The onlooker Little Gaggas looked at the leaders of the 5 guides and couldn't help but comment. All the leaders of the 5 guides have gathered. What a grand occasion this is. The equipment they have on them are all top-notch items among the top-notch. Later, the Little Gaggas saw that this group of elite players didn't make a move. They couldn't help but wonder. Why haven't they started the quest yet? It seems like they are waiting for someone. After waiting for a long time, Luna Zhao asked in confusion. Little Aurora couldn't help but chuckle and said, "Definitely felt embarrassed to come after knowing. That's why she didn't dare to show up, right?" However, just at this moment, suddenly there was a swoosh sound behind Little Aurora. Several figures began to appear faintly at the same time. The Little Gaggas couldn't help but exclaim when they saw the situation. Are the big guys waiting for them? It's Big Brother Darkblade. I only saw Fengshe arrive late, accompanied by Kuriko and Coke, who were carrying new weapons. They slowly walked towards the body-devouring serpent. After the man upgraded his legendary demon sword, he is ready to go and participate in the realm's first team dungeon. Fengshe, who arrived late, came with the sorcerer Kuriko, who had changed her profession, and the defensive warrior Koke. They soon arrived at the gathering point in the Dark Moon Graveyard. Shadow's little gag-ass flame tiger recognized Feng Shi at a glance. He quickly whispered to Shadow's leader. Brother Zhang was the one who harmed our brothers before. Louis Zhang raised his eyebrows at the sound, couldn't help but pay more attention to Feng Shi. He did not respond to Flame Tiger. Instead, he carefully observed Feng Shi and others while silently pondering. Zero Wing Studio. Dark Blade. Interesting. Flame Tiger saw Louis Zhang remaining silent. He hastened to continue speaking. Brother Zhang, seeing his disrespectful attitude toward Shadow Boss, cannot let him go. But Louis Zhang directly waved his hand to interrupt him. Shortly after, Louis Zhang patted Flame Tiger on the shoulder and said, Tiger, don't ruin Shadow's demeanor. The current task is the first done at the Dark Moon Graveyard. Flame Tiger stared at Feng Shi, gritted his teeth, and reluctantly agreed. After Louis Zhang left, he suddenly showed a cold expression and made a decision in secret. This guy, Dark Blade. I will find a way to deal with him myself. Feng Shi quietly watched Shadow guide, secretly pondering. In my previous life, I used to be the main force of Shadow. But in this life, I have become the founder of Zero Wings. Now my relationship with Shadow has become that of competitors. Just then, Snowbye spoke up as Feng Shi and the three others arrived. Everyone is here. This cooperative quest will be led by the body-devouring serpent, with me as the commander. As for the distribution of spoils, it will be based on needs and randomly assigned by the system. Feng Shi immediately asked upon hearing this. Isn't this different from what we agreed on? I should have priority in obtaining the crafting blueprints. His purpose in coming here is the advanced whetstone blueprint. The equipment is not important. Little Aurora immediately waved her hand repeatedly in response to the words, sneering. Before, Sister Snow gave you a good look. Now our items levels have all gone up. Even without you, we can clear Dark Moon Graveyard with no problem. The guide members on the side immediately echoed in agreement. Yes, for a casual player like me. We are already grateful for being randomly assigned to your team. The cold-faced Snowbye also spoke at this time. Sorry, Dark Blade. I cannot agree to your previous request. This is considering the interests of the body-devouring serpent. After cooperating with Black Flame, Snowbye has realized the importance of life professions. Although the current impact on the realm is not significant, who can guarantee the future? Kuriko couldn't help but ask quietly. Boss, how come the body-devouring serpent, such a significant guide, goes back on its word? Feng Shi felt Snowbye's firm attitude, and was quite troubled by it. However, it's not wise to fall out with Snowbye here. He could only helplessly wave his hand and respond. All right. Let's leave it to luck. Your call. Feng Shi couldn't help but ponder in his heart when he saw this situation. Is she trying to make me bring out even more valuable bargaining chips? Only this way can I negotiate on an equal footing with the body-devouring serpent. Snowbye. She is not an easy woman to talk to. Feng Shi and others agreed. Snowbye then turned around and shouted towards the members of the guide team. Dark Moon Graveyard, first to complete. Body-devouring serpent, we must achieve the best results. Immediately, the whole team began to cheer passionately and raise their arms. The woman, as the leader of the group, acted inconsistently by saying that the loot would be randomly assigned by the system. Feng Shi, who came solely for the blueprint, felt helpless about this. Can only shrug and plan to clear the dungeon with them first before making any further arrangements. Subsequently, one by one, everyone entered the portal and transformed into beams of white light entering the Dark Moon Graveyard. As soon as they entered the Dark Moon Graveyard, they felt a gust of cold wind blowing towards them, causing their whole bodies to shiver. At this moment, the sky was dim, with a red moon casting its light over the land. This is a wilderness full of tombstones. Huge rocks are erected everywhere, forming a massive maze. The atmosphere is eerie everywhere, accompanied by countless eerie wails and ghostly cries. In all the team dungeons of the realm, the main goal is to find the exit to leave. As long as you can exit the dungeon, it counts as clearing it. Exiting will also provide corresponding rewards for the dungeon. After walking for a while, Coke suddenly frowned and said, "Boss, how long have we been walking? We still haven't reached the end." Fengshe responded calmly, "Cheer up. We are almost at the exit." Just then, little Aurora suddenly walked up to Fengshe and proudly said, "What do you think? Now you know that you can't compare to Sister Snow's leadership skills, right?" Fengshe looked at Snowby, who was not at all intimidated by the eerie atmosphere, and couldn't help but admire. Indeed, Snowby's coordination, allocation, and scheduling are impeccable. It also relies on her command. Only then can the entire team withstand powerful monsters like gnolls. Retreat with the whole body. He then looked up and glanced at the crimson full moon in the sky. Although there were no casualties in the team at the moment, Dark Moon Graveyard is not a dungeon that can be easily passed. However, little Aurora did not have much time to enjoy her success. She heard 2 screams coming from the team chat. She quickly turned back to ask, "What's wrong?" Snowby immediately exclaimed, "Scout team! What happened? Answer me!" After that, Snowby saw the system prompt pop up. Player Yimming Bai has died. She was filled with shock at this moment. A key member of the body-devouring serpent. She died before she could even send out a message. It can only mean that we have encountered them. Powerful monsters that far exceed the level of our team. Snowby was not scared. She immediately issued instructions for everyone to be on high alert. Healing team, stand in the center. Support team, protect the healing team. Main tank, be prepared to use life-saving skills at any time. Everyone, be ready to fight. Suddenly, Fengshe narrowed his eyes and looked at the mist drifting in from afar, reminding everyone, "Something is coming! Main tank, be alert!" Instantly, everyone became tense. Looked towards Fengshe's direction. At this moment, Shield Warrior saw a figure in the mist. The figure was blurry in the dark mist, making it impossible to see its specific shape. All that was known was that this thing was slowly swaying its way over, moving step by step, like a snail crawling. As the distance closed in, the sound of ghostly cries and wolf howls grew louder. It was enough to make the onlooker's heart race with fear. Seeing the situation, Shield Warrior couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. What the heck is this thing? As soon as Fengshe saw the figure about to leave the mist, he immediately shouted anxiously, "MT, activate your life-saving skill!" This is the first large-scale raid dungeon in the realm world. Fengshe's team is about to reach the exit and prepare to clear the instance. But there was a change. Knowing how powerful this suddenly appearing monster is, he immediately spoke up to remind the MT in the team to quickly use life-saving skills. Although the Shield Warrior didn't pay attention. However, Protection Paladin Coke has always believed in Fengshe's words. He took out his shield at the first moment. He also used the Protection Blessing set on himself. When Coke saw that the Shield Warrior beside him wasn't listening to Fengshe at all, he immediately shouted, "Hey! What are you standing there for? Use your skills!" However, just at that moment, suddenly, there was a swooshing sound in the mist. Several black rays containing majestic energy immediately shot out from it. In the blink of an eye, the black rays flew towards the front row MT. But the black rays were as fast as bullets. The heavy Shield Warrior couldn't dodge at all. He was directly hit by the black rays in the center of his forehead, receiving a whopping 1,600 points of damage. Instantly killed. Unlike the Shield Warrior, who was unwilling to be instantly killed, Coke took the initiative to cast a protective blessing. The damage he received was reduced by 50%. Coupled with the mithril rank sky armor given to him by Fengshe, he only suffered a little over 500 damage. His HP dropped by more than half. When the system prompted that the player was killed, everyone watching the body-devouring serpent was stunned. Snowby couldn't believe it either. A level 5 MT in a bronze set was actually taken down in just one hit. And at this moment, a figure emerged from the mist. A level 6 special elite, Grey Keeper, with 5000 HP. It can continuously restore HP in the mist. The Grey Keeper has a huge body that is as tall as 2 people, with a single eye and 6 strange, sharp claws on its arms that look as sharp as swords. Upon seeing the monster appear, Snowbye finally realized the difficulty of the team dungeon. It was much more challenging than the smaller dungeons, at least 10 times harder. She quickly commanded, "Everyone retreat! Do not enter the mist under any circumstances." When Coke heard Snowbye's command, he hesitated and turned to look at Fengshe. But Fengshe shouted loudly, "Don't retreat yet. Protect me and the healing team first." Coke, upon receiving Fengshe's command, immediately nodded to prepare for action. Meanwhile, Grey Keeper suddenly stood up, raising his eerie giant hands high, once again gathering the terrifying dark energy. And Coke didn't dare to slack off at all, directly raising the shield in hand to block in front of the body. He simultaneously activates protective blessings and defense amplifications. Seeing Luna Zhao retreating, he was instantly irritated. He actually only listens to Fengshe. Is the Snow Queen really less reliable than a Fengshe? He will be finished if he takes another hit to his HP. Snowbye couldn't help but feel a bit uncomfortable after seeing it. She still quickly spoke up for the sake of the overall situation. "Treatment team, help him restore HP." Little Aurora nodded quickly upon hearing this and raised the wand in her hand. She began to chant quickly, activating the healing skill Rejuvenation. At the same time, the dark light in the Grey Keeper's hand began to rapidly condense and compress. At the moment when the black sphere took shape, the black sphere shot out from its hand. The next moment, the black sphere containing terrifying energy fluctuations crashed to the ground. It hit Coke directly, instantly causing a violent roar in the field. The explosion engulfed Coke in flames in an instant. The flames quickly dissipated. Amidst the thick smoke and dust, the location of Coke could be vaguely seen, still exuding waves of elusive golden light. This is a special elite boss that can wipe out a large team on its own. But this man is facing the enemy alone to buy time for his teammates, only to see the black ball containing terrifying energy fluctuations falling to the ground with a bang. Suddenly, a violent roar erupted in the field as the smoke dispersed. At this moment, Coke couldn't even stand steadily anymore. He struggled to maintain the shield in his hand. He grinned at Fengshe and said, "Boom, I held on." Fengshe keenly seized the opportunity when the Grey Keeper stiffened. Suddenly, he leaped up from behind Coke. He picked up the Abyss Dweller in his hand and rushed straight towards the Grey Keeper while shouting loudly. Coke was working hard. Immediately, a sharp sound of breaking air rang out. The upgraded Abyss Dweller is like cutting vegetables. The moment the long sword falls, the strange arm of the Grey Keeper was immediately chopped off on the spot. Having succeeded in one strike, Fengshe couldn't help but think deeply. This way it is temporarily unable to continue casting spells. Then let Kuriko manipulate it. At the same time, working in great harmony with Fengshe, Kuriko is also busy. As Fengshe starts to act, he has already begun chanting the incantation of Death Whip. Just as the Grey Keeper is about to attack Fengshe, several thorny vines suddenly shoot up from the ground. The thorny vines directly firmly control the remaining arms of the Grey Keeper. After being controlled by the Grey Keeper, it did not sit back and wait. Its arms suddenly started to shake violently. The surface of the skin gradually revealed a layer of faint green light. Snowbye keenly noticed this change and quickly shouted out, "This guy can restore HP in the mist. Luna, go stop it." The moment the words fell, Luna Zhao immediately raised her hands and shouted loudly, "Turn into ashes." The fierce and violent fire energy surged out from her body. Countless fireballs shot out instantly in the moment of condensation. The duration of Death Whip lasts for several seconds. The controlled Grey Keeper immediately becomes a sitting duck. The scorching fireballs all hit its body, bursting into a series of deafening explosions. Luna Xiao couldn't help but reveal a smug smile at the sight. The strength of this ghostly thing is nothing special after all. And Feng Shi frowned as he looked at the swirling smoke in the field. He quickly turned around to remind. The fog hasn't cleared yet. Don't let your guard down. Just dealing with one gravekeeper is already enough to give people a headache. But at this moment, several more figures of gravekeepers emerged in the mist. Kuriko was suddenly flustered upon seeing this. There's more than one. It's just unbearable. Immediately following, a dense sound of footsteps emerged from the smoke. Mysterious figures slowly revealed themselves from within. It's a ghoul level 6 elite monster. HP 1500. It will resurrect after being killed. Groups of ghouls rushed out of the fog and immediately started attacking the players in the team. The originally scattered team had no way to defend against them at all. When Luna Xiao heard the continuous notifications of casualties in the team, she couldn't help but despairingly say, "Our strength simply cannot cope with this situation." Sister Snow ordered a retreat. And Snowbye, upon hearing this, couldn't help but furrow her brows slightly. She looked at the elite and special elite monsters in front of her, immediately pondering to herself. If they were wiped out, the levels everyone had worked hard to achieve would be lost. But if they retreated after the first battle... However, at this moment, Feng Shi suddenly shouted, interrupting Snowbye's thoughts. "Don't retreat! I have come up with a way to get through this. But the command of the team must be handed over to me." This is a kind of super elite monster that can infinitely refresh and can one-hit kill players at will. And this man said he can lead the team to pass through. But the premise is to transfer the command of the team to him. Luna Xiao immediately became anxious. The first vice president of the illustrious body-devouring serpent leading the team. It's actually letting an outsider take command. Isn't that a joke for other top-notch guides? Saying that their body-devouring serpent is incompetent. She immediately shouted, "The Sister Snow team cannot be handed over to this guy for command." Snowbye naturally understood Luna Xiao's concerns. She had also considered the consequences. However, giving up the team's first dungeon completion for the sake of a little face might truly make them the subject of ridicule by other guides. Therefore, she immediately commanded, "The command of the team is given to Darkblade." Little Aurora immediately began to make a fuss. "Sis, I don't want to listen to him. I don't believe Feng Shi can command well. Not to mention leading us through the foggy area. After all, Feng Shi is just a solo player. He can't have experience in leading a team." Feng Shi immediately shouted loudly towards little Aurora upon hearing the sound. "You don't want to tell everything here, so shut up. Do as I say. Ghouls and gravekeepers are blocking our path. However, they are not something that must be defeated to clear Dark Moon Graveyard. They will respawn infinitely. Engaging with them here will inevitably lead to death. Use your most powerful fire magic with the widest range possible. Change your spell targets to empty targets. Use the heat waves to dissipate the mist and create an opening. Allow the team to pass through quickly." Luna Xiao immediately furrowed her brow upon hearing the sound, very dissatisfied with Feng Shi's dominant command. But Snowbye has already agreed. The control of the team has been handed over. Can only suppress the dissatisfaction in my heart. After arranging the tactics, Feng Shi waved his hand and said, "Everyone prepare to break through." At the same time, he also activated the title of One Ride 1000. This improved the attributes of everyone, and their running speed also increased. Snowbye immediately began to reevaluate Feng Shi's strength upon seeing the situation. She didn't expect that Feng Shi not only had the title of improving team attributes, but also possessed such terrifying observation skills. She couldn't help but be secretly surprised. Such a simple and straightforward way to escape the class must be known only to someone who is well versed in gaming strategies. Is he really a beta player? At the same time, Luna Xiao began to cast spells quickly. The blazing flames continued to surge in her hands. She suddenly exclaimed in anger, "Nonsense! You're still relying on my fire magic. Let me show you my ultimate move, Flame Storm. As soon as the words fell, Luna Zhao made a fierce wave with her hand. The ball of flames in her hand immediately shot out and exploded on the ground. The fire swept out like a sea, and the scorching flames instantly dispelled the mist in front of everyone. The flames surged into the sky and spread wildly. The engulfed ghouls were all instantly killed. The ghouls of Dark Moon Graveyard lived in this cold place all year round. They liked the cold and feared fire. Using fire-based magic attacks could multiply the damage several times. Just as the flame storm raged, Fengshe keenly seized the opportunity and shouted loudly. He took the lead and quickly sprinted towards the path opened up by the flames. Coke and Kuriko quickly followed suit upon seeing this. They have full trust in Fengshe. There will be no questioning of his judgment and orders whatsoever. And the rest of the crowd saw Fengshe start running, and one by one, they hurried to follow, disappearing into the mist. The visibility in the fog is very limited, only able to barely see a range of 5 yards around. If you don't keep up, you will fall behind in an instant. After a moment, when the duration of the flame storm ends, ghouls isolated by flames immediately start chasing the player at the back of the team. Little Gadgas was startled and exclaimed. Upon hearing the voice, Fengshe immediately shouted urgently, "Don't look back. Keep running with me." He knew well that there were countless monsters following closely behind. If they were to stop, it would only mean death. This is the first team dungeon opened by the realm. 3 hours have passed since the Dark Moon Graveyard opened. There is no information about any guide clearing the dungeon yet. However, there are many powerful guides who are constantly exploring and devising strategies. Just at this moment, a white light suddenly appeared at the entrance of the dungeon, slowly solidifying into a human figure. After Heartstabber was resurrected, with his body covered in scars, he accidentally knelt down heavily on the ground. Shortly after, a system prompt sounded. The dead player has been reborn. Forced to teleport outside the dungeon. Level has dropped to level 3. Heartstabber remembered the heart-pounding dungeon scene just now. He couldn't help but secretly complain. My team couldn't even pass the first scene. The difficulty of this game is just insane. At the same time, Kuriko, a sorcerer, is running for his life. However, the agility attribute of magic profession is generally low. Not long after he started running, the ghoul behind him has caught up. With a face full of horror, he couldn't help but shout as he fled. "Don't come any closer!" Right at this moment, suddenly a thud was heard. Kuriko stumbled under his feet. He was suddenly tripped by a stone on the ground. Kuriko quickly got up. When he saw the group of ghouls behind him about to pounce towards him, his face suddenly looked panicked. "I don't want to die, go back!" The next moment, the expected situation did not occur. Kuriko looked at the ghouls staying in the smoke, unable to hide his surprise. "What's going on? They didn't chase after me." At that moment, Fengshe suddenly walked up to Kuriko and explained. "Monsters won't leave their designated areas. We have escaped beyond their attack range. We are considered safe for now." Kuriko quickly grabbed Fengshe's outstretched hand and couldn't help but complain. "This is simply not meant for human beings." Fengshe just smiled faintly and said, "This is just an appetizer. The main course is yet to come." Fengshe turned around with a serious expression and said, "Look over here." And Kuriko, upon seeing the building blocking everyone's path, stopped. He immediately showed a surprised expression. In front of them appeared an underground tomb. This underground tomb is located in the center of the wilderness. It is also the unique exit of the Dark Moon Graveyard. The door of the tomb is carved with a terrifying, grim, and enormous skull. It can't help but make everyone's heart race. Luna Zhao beside took a glance at the tomb chamber. Suddenly, with a serious expression, she spoke. "Finally arrived at the tomb. We lost so many people." Fengshe, on the other hand, calmly replied, "What's wrong? Are you afraid?" Just as Fengshe was about to enter the tomb chamber, Snowbite suddenly spoke up. "Darkblade, please do not underestimate our guides." After a pause, she looked at Feng Shui firmly and spoke again. It is with the help of those sacrificed companions that we have made it this far. For them, we must continue to move forward. Feng Shui nodded in response. Well said. Let's go then. With that, he forcefully pushed open the heavy stone door and entered the tomb chamber first. After Feng Shui's previous performance, Luna Zhao and the others also became more obedient. Closely following behind Feng Shui, they entered the tomb chamber together and began to explore. After everyone entered the tomb, suddenly the dim hall underwent a drastic change. The extinguished candles around the room burst into flames, illuminating the whole hall. In the center of the hall stood a monstrous figure over 3 meters tall, clad in silver-gray armor, wielding a crimson-ruined great sword. The intimidating monster stood still on the magic circle, emanating a terrifying aura. Everyone immediately used their observation skills to learn more about this monster fallen lord, named Pachirio, Lord level 6, with 120,000 HP. After seeing the details, their faces turned pale instantly, feeling deep fear. Even Snowbite couldn't help but inhale sharply. 120,000 HP. Is it the final boss? Feng Shui nodded in response. Yes. We can bypass the Great Keeper and other enemies blocking the way. But you can't leave the dungeon without defeating the final boss. This is the most basic rule of the game, the realm. To leave the Dark Moon Graveyard, you must defeat him. Or die. Not to mention the terrifying HP. Just the words, Lord level, are enough to make players tremble. This represents that the monster is terrifying in a certain aspect.